don't feel ready. We have abundant time, as we spoke about the other day.
Thanks.
Wonderful. Okay, so as always, as people enter in, I will just let them in. It might be the three of us. It might be more joining. We shall see. My aim is always to make our sessions interactive, of course. And this one I have added in because we're going to talk about tapping into our true potential in love. So we're going to talk about channeling the Empress archetype. I work with the Empress archetype a lot in 2023, especially when I launched a program called Unapologetics. I was like, right, being a shift that I want to see for the women in it, how can I be unapologetic basically in all aspects of my life? And we're also going to look at well, as you know me, I'm really big on the unconscious anyway, which is like a big strand throughout the whole of my work. Again, we're going to look at that today, and also shadow. And I've added in some slides from a German author who studied Carl Jung. And basically, you'll see, I'll just add a few slides and then I'll go like discuss. So it's a couple of things where it's like, okay, more like live group coaching as well. And obviously throughout you can ask any questions as normal, especially if it's only the three of us. That means you have even more time to ask questions and share. Wonderful. So this is the theme for the month. And you know the house rules by now. Oh, that's Andrew. You know the house rules by now. Still important, to feel into your edge. All of the aspects are really important. Something that I'm observing, I don't want to project how I feel, but the weather left me feel a little bit tired, I must say. And I feel like a lot of people feel the same. It's like it's a little bit colder, it's a little bit darker. So again, as always, I invite you to feel your edge and just feel like, where is your energy at, and show up for yourself first and foremost. And of course, everything that we share here is confidential. Hello, Andrew, lovely to see you. You haven't missed much. I'm just introducing the theme of today. How are you doing, by the way, Andrew? Just a quick little chat. How are you doing to check in?
I'm okay. Really busy day.
Mm.
Just finished work, so yeah. Good. I'm good. Glad to be here.
Wonderful to see you again. We were saying it's a little bit like a deja vu. I even have the same top on. So talking about unlocking our potential in love, and also looking at the unconscious, looking at the shadow, which also is a dedicated, I said that to you last night, but the wild card on the 28th is all dedicated to that. So I posted this on the Monday intention. So if you saw it on Monday and you've taken some time to reflect or journal, or now might be the first time that you see this, I just want to land on this a little bit of checking. This is a check-in that I use every day over this last year, to just check in with myself. Like, am I in alignment? Like, am I in my empowered part? Am I in my wounded part? And when I'm in my wounded part, is not to dismiss that in any ways. Again, as I mentioned in the beginning, observe without making me, but just so that we have that awareness. And also it brings me into alignment. I'm really big on absolutely integrity with others, but almost more importantly, integrity with ourselves. So who am I being? So feel free to share, because we're a smaller group today. If you want to share, like, time boundaries, of course, is the thing. So maybe tops 2 minutes each. So yeah, feel free to share in the chat, unmute yourself, either from reflection of Monday, what have you observed this week? If this is the first time that you see it, what lands for you, and who are you being? From what place are you taking action? Are you from the wounded, the empowered? Are you in alignment? Are you in integrity with that woman that you are becoming? Yeah, what's coming up for you? Who am I being? And that can be in this moment,
I'll share.
Perfect.
I think so. I'm just sort of thinking, I feel like, I did see that come up on Monday, and I have sort of been sitting with it. And I was really aware about the shifts of who I was being last week. And then I went on, like, I'd been chatting to this guy for ages and we went on a date and it kind of didn't go anywhere. And I was really empowered at that time. And now I think, you know, a few days on from it and it didn't quite work out. And, you know, once you've had the face-to-face meeting, I feel like I'm coming from a bit of a wounded place right now. So but I'm really observing how I've shifted from like one place to another. So yeah, that's been quite insightful, I think.
Yeah. And it is like, can be a quite stark difference sometimes, even in a short period of time, which makes it even more prominent.
Yeah, for sure.
And I guess also, I know that what I know of the difference from last week and this week, you know, what you fill in is like, then the date was lined up and you were gonna go and see each other. This week you saw each other and then it didn't go into anything else. So that's the only thing that I know is different. What else? There might be that or only that, but it might be other things. What have you noticed in yourself that was like, right, last week I was like up here and now I feel down here? You know, what have you observed in yourself? There's like, what kind of cultivated that empowered state and what kind of felt like there was this like lead balloon kind of coming down that made you feel almost opposite?
Yeah, I think I fell back into a bit of a pattern. Like I felt like building up quite a bit of momentum and I was doing a lot of work and I was having like sort of over the last sort of month, really, it's just been like light bulb moment after light bulb moment. So felt like I was on a bit of a high and I felt very much in my power actually. And then I think because and you know, we talked about it when I debriefed with you about kind of I knew that things that were happening while we were communicating shouldn't have been happening. Like we should have just met much sooner. So I think I fell right back into a pattern, which is why I've come back into like my wounded self. And I think that's what's changed. Like I'm really aware of kind of a pattern that I'm running right now, which I kind of need. And I'm a bit frustrated with myself because I know that I've done the work. I know where I want to be and where I was. And I think I'm frustrated with myself that I've allowed this little blip to kind of bring me down a bit, but also also quite good. So I think that kind of helps me to get back up there, perhaps.
Yeah, and it's, you know, great that you have incredible self-awareness, right, of being able to see that and also hold. And one of the things that we talked about just very briefly, the self-esteem, one of the things that impacts a negative self-esteem is being high critical of self.
Yeah.
So breaking that pattern, I suppose. I know you're breaking many patterns, but like supporting you in breaking that pattern, even though you know where you want to be and you know, like you're doing the work and it felt like you were doing more progress maybe before, like last week, and now it doesn't feel like you're still making progress. It's very easy to like look at it very binary.
Yes.
So, you know, so what would it look like to, instead of that, also that pattern of like self-criticism, what would it look like, that devotional, you know, radical self-love of, you know, a mantra that I really love is like, it's either this or something better. I'm always being looked after. It's either this or something better. But coming back to my question, what would it look like right now to remove the old pattern of like self-criticism that impacts your self-esteem, and then, you know, the impacts, of course, how you feel about yourself, and like instead kind of swooping yourself up from a place of devotional self-love? What would that look like and feel like, would you say?
I think I just realized as you were talking, actually, like I really like that mantra, actually. I think I've been talking about it quite a bit, actually, about kind of stepping into my masculine more than my feminine. And I've clearly, and I just, as you were talking, I was like, shit, that's exactly what I've just said. Because that's my safe, protective place, is just to get back into my masculine. And then I become a little bit detached from myself. And that's where the sort of the major kind of criticism comes in. So I think it's about being a bit kind of, I keep talking about sort of softening my edges, being a bit kinder to myself and acknowledging all the stuff that I learned actually from this experience that I've just been through. Evidence bag, as you keep talking about. Yes. Constantly that actually there's major in communication and how going up. So yeah, I think maybe that's where it is.
Yeah, wonderful. And just, continuing and that kindness, and we'll I remember the kindness anyway from what we have been speaking about, like in men also. So it's going to be interesting to see, I mentioned like I'm going to have a slide and just like, and then I'm going to be like, discuss how you all feeling. So I'm going to see how you feel about that.
Thank
We
you.
will have something that will come up there, by the way. And so yours, I will just be interested, like if we added kindness, that I've made a note so I can, we'll talk about it in a few slides. Wonderful. Rena and Andre, what have you observed? What coming up for you now? Rena. Oh, who was quickest? That was a very close call.
Peter.
You go for it.
Okay, Andrew.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I was just thinking about it now. Definitely my wounded at the moment. I feel like I don't have the power and energy to take action at the moment, even though I know I need to quite badly. I feel like someone that's in a power struggle, and I just can't really look at it anymore. I feel myself like being quite distant and disconnected. Kind of just focusing on getting through the day, burying myself in work a bit. I'm finding myself being a bit resentful because I feel unappreciated for the things that I do and who I am. Thinking like I'm having, thoughts like, he won't change, we won't change. And I'm very much sort of in my masculine, like Polly said about like, I just want to protect myself now because I've just had so much like criticalness thrown at me. And I just don't want to be my feminine or my soft. Yeah, that's kind of who I'm being right now.
Yeah, and I remember from what you shared yesterday that it feels like a lot on many, many fronts at this moment in time for you. And what I would reflect back is this is exactly what we're going to talk about today, to reconnect to your own power. So, we can't control others. And, within your relationship, you decided, as you mentioned yesterday, to go into therapy and then come together in therapy and see, what comes out from that. So in the meantime, what does it look like to connect with yourself, appreciate yourself? Obviously, yes, we want to be appreciated, but by our partner, what does it look like to like dial up that, like, what do you appreciate about yourself? I mean, the fact that, as you mentioned, like work is ramping up, I've had conversations with my partner about what I'm no longer willing to entertain. You put up like boundaries more than ever before. So what does it look like to like deeply appreciate yourself at this moment in time, and attend to the the thoughts of, it's like nothing is ever going to change, be with them, but also like coming into this present moment, what other thoughts would feel, maybe more helpful or nurturing to you at this time. Like, we don't know about the future. You do what you can control. The other thing, as we mentioned yesterday, we're going to come back to that once you've gone through that journey, so for this moment. So how does that feel to kind of like come back to self, and what you maybe were looking for from partners? Like, how do you like double down on this for yourself at this moment in time? It's not that you're gonna always have to solely rely on it, but to kind of like bridge the gap of what it is that you need and be that for yourself.
Yeah.
Does that land?
I feel like sometimes when I focus on myself, it's from a place of wanting to get away from something that I need to look at, instead of it being from a place of, like you say, like looking after yourself and self-care. And I don't know. I don't know. I think I'm just going into protection mode. Yeah. I don't know if that made sense. Like, sometimes connecting to myself is a way of just thinking about myself and avoiding what's going on.
Yeah. And then you get to ask yourself now, is that what you're doing? Trust yourself, and are you avoiding what's going on?
I think there is a little bit of avoidance, yeah.
There's also a lot of things that you are doing, right? You've had a conversation, you're both going into therapy, you've even talked about what's the potential, like if we end this relationship, you know, I would say that's kind of like, you know, facing it pretty much head on.
Okay.
You know, so to catch yourself, what I'm hearing is like, is a balance of, yeah, sometimes is running away, but also not to, is okay. Like I'm listening to this, I can send it to you afterwards. Well, I'll send it to the group, and then if you feel, it's like a 5-minute meditation that you do it for 40 days, and a really big, because I had a really tough October. So one of my friends sent that to me, and she said it's a 5-minute meditation, and the kind of key theme is that is like all is well, it's okay to feel good right now, like despite the chaos around, it's okay to feel good. That is a balance, right? We don't want to suppress and avoid, but what I'm hearing is like you've actually faced quite a lot. So what would it look like to attend to self-care right now, self-love? You know, you don't have to share it with anyone else, but it's for you to create that inner, you know, like pink clouds of love. And you know, as Polly said, like soft around the edges a little bit. Like, you know, it doesn't have to be boundary. That doesn't mean that you can't also face what's going on, you know. But that's what I get for you to do, is like rebalance it upward a little bit, so that you can feel that internal home being just a little bit more like kinder, softer, loving. You know, it's like Me, Myself, and I. That song, Beyonce.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Rena.
Yeah, I love that. My internal home. That's so cute. It is like nice, isn't it? I think for me personally, probably I'm like in between everything. So like some of the days is like I'm in wounds. Then like some days like empowerment, alignment. But I find like for me it's like it's very curious, and I think this is what I noticed yesterday as well when we were all chatting, is that like I can go in my wounded self, but it's like amazing how quickly I come out. Like it's not like you stay like stuck in it. Like it's you come up with the whole story of what is happening. So I think for me that is quite interesting being happening like over a few weeks, is that like yes, I step into it, it happens, and then but it's almost like a split, like 5 minutes later, something like this. I like the feelings the same, but I'm out of it. Like it's almost like the rational side comes in. It's like, okay, like what is like actually happening? So I think that is a lot of happening, like a lot of like over a few weeks, which I find like very curious. It's like different. It's like quite alien, because I'm like you kind of get used to it. Either it goes one way or another. Either you're happy or you're not happy. But it being in between of that, like, oh, it's like a bit of both. It's kind of different, I think. I don't know. Does it even make sense?
Oh
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
completely. I'm there so often. Yeah, completely. I think that's a very normal. There's a very normal curve to go through as we're doing inner work. And you know, we spoke a little bit about that yesterday, about like the old self, the new self, like the wounded self, the empowered self. It's like it can be many different things in the mix at any given time. And the more that we become, it's always happened. It's just that now you're very aware of it, meaning that you kind of like see it out here. And as you mentioned as well, like, okay, I can be in my wounded side, and then I can, you know, come out of it. And what you mentioned is like the rational side, that can also be like the balance of the feminine and the masculine. The feminine practice is to really feel the feelings of the wounding. For example, like I am really scared that he's gonna leave me, or I'm really scared of that I can't be in control right now, whatever. And like feel the feelings of that. And the masculine is like, then, you know, can swoop in and be like, right, how are we gonna like rationally work with this? So it's also that like the inner balance of the masculine and the feminine. So the feminine and the masculine are both in action, if that makes sense. But the feminine is a very different way of getting there. So yeah, so I'm hearing you like you're observing a lot, you're have a lot of awareness, and you feel a lot, and yeah, it's completely normal, you know.
I mean, it's so
Opportunities to
alien
shed.
though.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
weird. It's like weirdest feeling is that, because I think, I mean, I don't know with Adriana or Polly, is like almost like you get so used to feeling like a certain way, and it's not necessarily like a pleasant. Like it's like there's always something going on in your head, or something is happening, and you have all the stories and something, and you're continuously there. And then it's almost when you stop, you're like, this is like really weird. Like this is so strange, because am I not like supposed to like feel something like or work on something, or like I don't know, like kind of like this. So I think for me, it's like I'm like, okay, this is like really weird. It's so alien. I don't know really what is happening.
And as you mentioned the word a couple of times, like curious, continue to be curious about what you're observing, like the wounded side, the empowered side, how, you know, how certain situations, people, thoughts, behaviors in self and others make you feel, what influences slash triggers what. And I promise you, your mind is not going to get that occupied every day forever. It's often when we're like going into a new chapter that we talked about yesterday. So it comes, as I would say, in waves, but not present at all time, you know. And also, of course, it can be having that emotional boundary with yourself if you feel like, oof, it's just a lot and I don't really have the emotional capacity for it right now. Whereas like I am not suppressing is an active choice of I'm gonna park these thoughts and feelings. I'm gonna like have a great conversation with a friend. I'm gonna watch this movie. I'm gonna go for a run. I'm treating myself to brunch or a lie-in or a bath or whatever. And it's like these 2 hours that I'm blocking out here is just for not being immersed in like the inner work world, you know? Does that make sense? Like having that almost like emotional
Yeah.
boundary. But yeah, continue with that with the curiosity.
Thank you.
Okay. And yeah, it's a good question to continue to ask yourselves, you know, who am I being? And yeah, I mentioned this earlier, the theme. So the Empress archetype. So I love her for many reasons, you know, very unapologetically her. And from, you know, I'm really big on like the centeredness, like from the crown chakra down to the root of it's like I am balanced, rooted in self, who I am, from a point of self-confidence, self-worth, and self-assuredness. So when we move, so the Empress archetype moving from that place are able to move from this is my space, you know, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I believe in myself, you know, fierce self-confidence, meaning that we attract from a place of love, we attract from a place of abundance, we create from a place of possibility, and of course, we then become a match to a complete different vibration, as in what it is that we desire to create. You know, the opposite of that would be when we don't really believe in ourselves and that what we want is possible for us. We don't really believe we're worthy of what it is that we want. Of course, there's a lack place or fear place to come from, meaning that we're showing up like a little bit more like taking less space rather than being like unapologetically who we are. And I added this on this slide as well, who attract, and this is linked, right? So attracting partners who appreciate her for who she is, and that's linked to the first sentence, because we're deeply rooted in this is who I am, this is what I want, this is what I'm about, and owning that. We are then leading with that, meaning we attract partners who appreciate us for that because we appreciate ourselves. You know, the shift comes from within. So this is like you know, constant positive loop. Yeah. So this is the mantra. Also a mantra that I have been playing with a lot in 2023, not just in my relationship, but also around wealth. I don't chase, I attract. I no longer wish. This is my favorite. I no longer wish. I call it in. Very different, you know, state and place to create and attract from. It's like I'm worthy, you know, I'm not playing this is them, this is me. Like, no, we're all playing on an equal level. This is my desires, this is who I am. You know, we're a match because I know that we're in alignment, because I am true, authentically myself, and I'm worthy of what it is that I am calling in. Does that make sense? So it's like, I'm calling it in. And the Empress energy, you know, is very much like, you know, we're talking about the energetics here as much as, you know, who we are being. You know, it's like going from, this is why I love embodying this archetype, that it, you know, she empowers us on that journey instead of thinking like I am worthy. That's how it all starts, by the way. It's a natural first step of a journey. It's the invitation to really like bring it down into the heart. You know, is it different from like being heady around it? And it's like, this is how we move. You know, it's a like really radiating from within. So, and creating this from the center of who we are being. So as I'm talking about this again, if you want to unmute yourself, and you know, we do a much quicker share here, or you can type in the chat as well, what needs to shift for you in order to enter into this energy? How could you, what needs to shift for you to create more from this energy, or like ramp it up 5% more into this way of being?
Me again. Oh, Rena. It's quite interesting, just hearing that mantra kind of it feels quite empowering. Like you could shift in kind of how you perceive those words. That's just my observation of just like, I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, this was my screensaver for a long time. As you know me, I'm really big on having my mantras on the screensaver, so I can just remind myself of them, you know, that I no longer wish I call it in. That was my screensaver, spring 2023.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. And as you said, it's interesting, like with words, isn't it? We know words have power, like words have a resonance. And as you said, even hearing certain words, you know, speaking them either silently or out loud, it's like, it kind of does something to the body. You just stand a little bit taller. It's like, yeah, that's right, you know? So it's, yeah, great. And just continue to play with them, see which one you like. You know, you might want to start with some of them, or you might start to see other mantras that is in alignment with that, or come up purely your own as well. Whatever works for you. Great.
I think I like that. I don't chase, I attract. And I think it's like, it really works like trusting yourself.
Yeah.
It's like really like, okay, it's like, okay, like, you know, because I think when you chase, like, you just always need to think of like a plan, like, okay, what do I need to do, or where we need to go. But when you like slow down, then like you kind of almost like sit in the present, if that makes sense. And I think that's why I like it. I like it, for me, like just slowing down is like such a massive thing. And I've learned like over the like years so much. And I think that really resonates, is like you don't chase, like you attract, is that you slow down. And it's almost created that trust with myself that I attract everything that is meant for me.
Yeah. I am, and as I'm hearing what you're sharing, is like, and as you mentioned, it's been a big year for you to learn the slowing down. And it's like, what I'm hearing as you are sharing, you know, is like, instead of chasing, I'm attracting, meaning that I am also allowed to slow down. I don't always have to like be in the chase, in the do, you know. It's okay to like, that's the feminine, right? Like I attract, you know, the hunter, like the masculine would like chase, create, you know, but it's like the feminine is like, I can have my, you know, slowing down and whatever that we need to nurture, and I can still attract, you know. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Andrew, anything you want to share? If you don't want to, if you don't want to.
Kind of just listening. I don't know if that's because I'm not sure how to do this yet.
Yeah. And you know, it's like what I'm teaching is obviously to give you all the tools to do it, either if it feels right now, or when it feels right, and to continue to use this for eternity beyond, you know, our time together. So it's again, as you said, like listening, observing, and what I'm hearing for you as well, you're just in a different space right now. And it's like to remember in your journey, like, when do I feel ready? Like, oh yeah, I remember the Empress archetype, you know, oh, what was she about? Okay, you know, to just feel into when you're ready to embody her, you know.
Like, I do feel different, obviously, to how, like, when I first started, when I look at this, and like, I think I can see that I do attract good things and people around me, and things that I need, like, do come to me, and I can see that. But I guess, like, I can't, because it's not happening in my relationship. I'm like, what's going on? What is it that I am or am not doing, or willing or not willing to do, consciously or not, like, that is not happening there. So, and obviously there's another person at play here that influences this. So yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
Because
and what I would offer here for you is to, like, from where I'm sitting, what you're doing now is exactly where you need to be. Speaking your boundaries, on owning your no. You know, you've been very clear in a whole different way, and that's, you know, so, and yeah, it might be always other things, and obviously I'm not, you know, in your life every day. This is like what I see, you know, when we connect through the courageous woman, basically, you know, and it's like trusting that I'm doing exactly what I have to do, because your journey very much this year have been like many things, you know, but also boundaries and owning the no, and like, you know, what are you willing to entertain, what are you not willing to entertain, and that needs to happen before we can, because otherwise you're always creating from, like, you feel exhausted, as you said yesterday. And if we don't have the energy to rise, you know, rise up in ourselves, then absolutely we don't really have it outward either.
yeah,
You know, so to trust that you're doing what you have to do, it just maybe look very different right now from wherever you thought it was gonna look.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and like trust yourself and be really proud of the conversations that you've had, and really owning the no, owning your boundaries, you know.
I never thought I'd get to this point in terms of, I don't know what to call it. Is it despair? Is it putting boundaries in? Or is it all of it?
Well, I spoke to, this was earlier this year, but I spoke to one of my teachers, and I said, you know, I'm just so fed up with this particular thing. And I was like, I'm just so fucking done with it. And I was like, I don't know what to do now. She's like, oh, honey, it's really good to be in that energy, you know, because it's like when you just like, I'm done. It's a little bit like what we spoke about yesterday. Like, is it uncomfortable yet? Is it uncomfortable yet? Is it uncomfortable yet? Is it uncomfortable yet? And at one point, we're like, yeah, it's fucking uncomfortable. Press the exit button, and then things need to change, you know. So be careful of what you're labeling it as, because it could be, you know, maybe it was born from despair, like my awakening happening from a breakdown, you know. But I know that now, because I'm out the other end, you're like at the beginning of yours, that loop, you know. But to trust that that is what had to happen at this point, the no's, the boundaries, you know, which often can come from that. In my experience, I'm so fucking done,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And here are some of her traits. Obviously, this is not, you know, a complete list, but what I feel is most true to share. So she knows how to ask for what she needs unapologetically, and embraces self-care, shows a radical self-acceptance, loving herself unconditionally, feels secure in herself, no need to compete with other women, and for what it is that she wants, for example, that sister wound that can occur in the world. And she is embodied in her sensuality and sexuality. She is deeply present in the beauty way of life. So what is that? That is choosing to see the beauty, you know. That could have been like, the beauty way could have been when, you know, Andrew, you hadn't yet hopped on, but when it was me, Holly, and Rena, and as we saw each other, because we saw each other at the same time last night, we all kind of like smiled. It's kind of like, ah, that's the beauty way, you know. It's just choosing to see the beauty in everyday life. So yeah, this is some of the aspects of her. And again, it's like that centeredness in self. So she's rising her power from, yeah, she's raising her power from a place of self-centeredness, you know. And she's very much, Rena, you talked about this just now, she's very much like trusting, you know. Love doesn't have, I don't have to chase love, you know, I don't have to earn love. It's to more leaning into trusting that I am enough, trusting that I am worthy, and trusting the unfolding of life, of love, of money, of insert, you know, whichever. And that she's very caring for herself. You know, she really cares for, and this is very much like the mother archetype, but also the mother wound. You know, the mother wound is all about not looking after ourselves and not taking care of our needs. So the Empress energy, and just before I move to the next one, is that any particular one here, you can just type in the chat, like the numbers or the word that you feel is like, yeah, I'm ready to dial this up right now. This is really what I need, or this is something that I'm calling in. Self-acceptance, unconditional love, secure in herself, no need to compete with other women. Beautiful. Yeah, so just like, you know, take what resonates, you know, trust that you don't need the other, and just see like, okay, and always ask oneself, all right, so if I want to, like Polly, you mentioned the unconditional self-love, okay, well, what did it look like to embody that? You know, what aligned action can I take around that, for example? But that's true for all of you. This is an example with what you shared. And here's another reason where I love this archetype, because I mentioned she's very caring to herself. You know, she's also caring for other people, but not at the expense of herself. So she only gives to others when she filled up her own cup. And it's so easy that we maybe think that the other people have the power, or, you know, I'm just gonna like do this, and I'm just gonna do this, and just, and then we kind of burnt out. So this is again, you know, again, that like, I don't chase, I attract, you know, I don't wish for it, I'm calling it in, so that she can be in a more relaxed state, you know, by looking after herself. So she only gives, and she only creates from a place of, you know, an overflowing cup, even not even just full, it's overflowing, you know. And it can be very easy in our life that our cup is nowhere near to be filled, yet we are, you know, and life takes a lot, you know. It's like work, commitments, even friendships that we love, like committing to an inner work journey, even that's an aligned action, like all of these things, you know. Christmas is beautiful, but my God, can Christmas be stressful? So it's again like, what does it look like to, like, what self-care practice can I dial up to fill up my own cup? Like, what does it even mean for me to fill up my own cup? How do I fill up my own cup? You know, to just be very curious about that, and see again, you know, where is my capacity? Maybe my capacity, you know, this week is to, like, you know, and as mentioned, October was really difficult month for me personally, and like my capacity then was to watch like humor programs in Swedish, because I couldn't go home, but I would hear my Swedish. It wasn't any like, I don't even think I showered for a whole week, you know. It was like energy was extremely low because I had the flu. So it's like, that was me filling up my cup then. My filling up my cup now may look different because I have different energy. Does that make sense? So only we can be caring, we can be loving, we can be supportive, we can be all of the above, not at the expense of ourselves. We choose ourselves first, and then we give to others. So it's very much about self-nurturing. I mentioned it so much today, you know, practicing self-care. This is also setting boundaries, you know, emotional boundaries. What am I available for and what am I not available for, so that I can be there for myself, so I don't exhaust myself, so that we can really look after our emotional and mental health, to treat ourselves with love and compassion and kindness, and creating an inner abundance. Often we want that external abundance. The inner abundance really comes from building a relationship with self where we acknowledge, appreciate, and love who we are. Self-esteem, how I feel about who I am, not what I'm creating, not my achievements, not the masculine, the feminine, my being. So creating an inner abundance is really acknowledging and appreciating and loving who we are, for like our talents, our strengths, our weaknesses, to really create like a self-positive, affirming relationship from the core of our being, from a real place of love. To tap into the Empress archetype as well, there's a lot about pretty much every feminine archetype has always creation in it. Creation, like self-expression, that could be through art, that could be through dance, that can be through cooking, that could be through fashion, that could be from journaling, creating music, creating your own playlist on Spotify, whatever that might be. But the feminine is very much the creator, and I think it's very easy to think like, okay, the feminine is like the creator of life. True, we can give birth, but it's also giving birth to creations, projects, vision, and the more that we're tapping into that creative self-expression in self, it's easier to, amplify that into other parts of our life as well. And our sensual connection, to feel really good in our body. That's an active self-love practice to, create. And this is hard for many, many women, I'm sure men as well, but because I coach women, I have had a very difficult relationship with my body, and I know many women do. It's not to say that all people feel like that, but it's really like, what does it look like for me to create a more loving relationship with my body and my physical experiences? That might be like, sensuality doesn't have to be sexual, that could be like a really nice body cream, like a nice fabric on our body, like the bedding that we sleep in, like that's also the sensuality, to tap into your senses. Incense, candles, all of these things. So it's like the pleasure in life, absolutely. We can take this to another level of self-pleasure, the sensuality more in the eros, the sexual way. But sensuality doesn't have to be sexual, it's really creating that relationship with our body, and again, a deep appreciation for oneself. So yeah, the Empress energy, the Empress archetype, how could you invite her more into your life? Feel free to either share in the comments or unmute yourself. How could you invite, which parts resonates? How can you invite her more into your life at this moment? Or throughout November, as that is the theme.
I think for me, just sort of going through that list is really interesting. Like, as you know, I've been talking a bit about kind of self-esteem stuff and sort of where I'm coming from. But what I also realized is thing about kind of how to feel really good in my body. Like I normally do yoga every day, and since I got ill, I think we got ill at the same time.
Yes, we did.
I've kind of disconnected from it, and I haven't done it. And just listening to you talking, I was like, I wonder, this whole feeling of like just not feeling myself, and just there's something going on. I think because I've not been practicing, and I've not been doing my kind of embodiment practices. That's why I feel like I'm completely out there and, somewhere else, and just not centered or grounded. So I think for me, it's kind of, it's sort of being more caring and loving to myself, and sort of stepping back into that sort of practice, which I know supports me, but which I know I should be doing, but which I'm just like, I'm not doing it. I think that's what it.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful way, isn't it? Yoga to come into the body, the feminine, all the, you know, heart opening, you know, hip opening, and just opening up your body, you know, rather than this like gone inwards as you, it's a different going inwards, but rather being headed to drop into the heart and the body. Yeah. And it's like, and it doesn't have to be, you know, like, okay, wow, now I have to have this like massive project. It's like, actually, what's really good for me is to do yoga. And I haven't done it in a while because I was ill. So it's like my commitment to self is to do it for 20 minutes on Saturday morning or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
I think for me, I'd say it's like little things. So with the, I've noticed like with all my work stuff, so I don't fly like, I mean, I fly like probably once a month or something like this because I'm mainly in a training. And you get to this point because it's so busy. I'll wake up like 6 a.m. I don't get home until 6 in the evening, off 6 in the evening, 7 in the evening, because it's just such a busy day. And I could do a whole day not drinking water, not eating because it's so busy. So I think for me is that actually having this, like making sure I eat, like I make like a food with me, like breakfast, lunch, like even like when I get home, like before all our calls or like the courageous woman stuff, like take a moment and actually eat something before you start, like make sure like I drink the water. And the same way, like Polly said, I do this breathing practice. I tend to do this every day, but then you get to this point like, oh, I'm so busy. I don't have this time. I need to go home. Like I need to go to sleep because I need to be up again another 6 a.m. Is that actually be like, no, it's like 20 minutes. I actually gonna do it because it helps. So I think it's bringing back like this, like, I mean, basics is like eating and drinking.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, you know, a really important part of the self-care. And it can sound so basic, but it's like, it is what we need. And it's so easy to like judge, oh, it should just be like, always be in an abundant mindset. Well, actually, maybe what I need to do is like, as you said, eating more frequently and drinking water, which is also like self-love, important for the body and your energy and everything else. You know, this is years ago, but when I first went to Alba, where I go and do a one-to-one retreat, which I would recommend everyone to do. So this was maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And you used to do this test, so she kind of saw like all your, you know, the body, and she noticed that I was really dehydrated. And she looked at me and she was like, what do you think about, you know, when they like make donkeys work and they like no one feeds them and no one, you know, waters them and all these things. She was like, and then they like whip them like you should work more, you should. And I was like, oh my God, that is horrible, like animal cruelty, and I can't believe it. She was like, and then she looked over and she was like, and why did you do this to yourself? And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, and this just can be really simple, where it's like I would never treat. And I was like, that was awful. Like my reaction was really big. And then she looked at me because I didn't eat, you know, regularly because I was just so busy, and I certainly wasn't drinking water. So it's also like those things that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good comparison. It's like a really good comparison.
It was the first time I met that woman, and I was like, why is she talking about donkeys? Yeah. Cool. Thank you. Andrew, is there anything you want to share?
I've written sort of actionable things. Some things I'm already doing, some things I'm not doing. So I put, make sure I make dates with myself, like days out. Make sure I do small things like buy myself flowers or incense and candles, sleep on time, follow boundaries I set with Helder, start painting anything. Make sure I do a website this month, and have some girl time, have a sleepover, have some time with my mum, and keep cooking well. Like you said, putting food and drink first as well. So yeah, some things I am doing and other things I need to start doing.
Yeah, great. And that girl time as well, you know, it's really nourishing to be in that space with friends, mother, community, you know, if we assuming we have a healthy relationship with all of the above, and just having that coming into like the tribe of women. Wonderful, great. So we're talking about stepping into our power, stepping into our potential, you know, constantly rising from a place of power. But it's all very well to talk about our power, but we're also talking about our unconscious. So what I want you to feel into, and we'll just do like a 2-minute chat each. What have you directly or indirectly been taught about your power, your voice, and your role as a woman in this world? So this is when we're tapping into, and this is a really big question, you know, so feel into it. And I invite all of us to share, because I've held space for this question many times, and it's a very beautiful place to be witnessed. Yeah. So what have you directly or indirectly been taught about your power, your voice, and your role as a woman in this world? So I'll leave you to think about that for a few moments. And, you know, this is a really important topic to approach. I was speaking about being in our power, because it's something that I witness a lot, not just in myself, but within my world, that so many women have witnessed in some way or the other, that they being in the power is somehow negatively impacting others around them, you know, often happening at a young age. So again, it's all very well to like, yeah, be in your power, but again, what's the unconscious or maybe conscious, but that limited view of the stories that we have directly or indirectly been told about our place in the world as a woman, our voice in the world as a woman, you know, or just our role as a woman in this world.
Shall I share? Feels like I would kind of
Yeah, created the order.
that's a massive question. And I felt, and I was like, I could feel myself like, oh my God. Or have I directly or indirectly been taught about my power? Is that, well, I've been running away for my whole life. So I'm from quite a traditional Asian Sikh Indian family, and it was always assumed that I was going to have an arranged marriage, and it was kind of like, you know, it's been drummed into me since I was like really young that this is kind of the process and this is how it is going to be. And alongside that, you know, like I'm the youngest of 5, and I was kind of born quite a while ago, and I think a while after my last brother. I got 3 brothers and a sister. And I think my dad wanted a boy, and so like I was such a tomboy growing up, and I didn't really have like much maternal caretaking from my mom, and then I went into a very male dominated profession, yeah, so I've been kind of just running away from anything to do with being feminine for my whole life. And so I've had this kind of real weird sort of mismatch about, yeah, I'm a woman, and when we talked about it, we're kind of masculine, feminine. So yeah, I'm a woman, but I don't feel like a woman. But so when I get into a relationship with a man, I'm looking for a man who's like even stronger than me, and then it becomes a disaster. Like it becomes a really controlling sort of weird power dynamic. So yeah, I've not really ever had a voice as a woman or felt like I have. And so what's mirrored to me is kind of like in terms of relationship from my sort of, when I see like my mom with my dad and like my brother and their wives and stuff, is the woman is always really passive and in the Indian environment, and then the male is very dominant. And so weirdly, when I did get into a relationship and I was with someone for like 4 years, I found myself mirroring what I knew relationships to be, and it was the weirdest experience to kind of like, oh my God, like I'm being like how my mom is with my dad, as well as understanding now, having stepped out of it and got some space, about this whole weird power dynamic and this not being in my feminine power, being more masculine, and then attracting an even stronger man. So I don't know if that answers the question, but yeah. That's
Yeah, and it's not looking for any right answers, you know, it's like that sharing, like to be witnessed in our experience, to be witnessed by other women, and how similar many of our stories also can be. There's like we feel like there's nothing wrong with me, you know, and as you mentioned, there is like from a young, and I have a very similar story with I was never told, but I indirectly felt and heard that my parents wanted a boy. So I too became a tomboy, did everything a boy would do, then went into a male heavy, you know, work, and was very much like dismissing, because I literally thought that my parents were dismissing my woman feminine self. So how, if they were rejecting me and they were like supposed to be my all and everything, you know, well, how can I accept and love myself until we do the work and see that it's like that's not my truth, and I get to be on the journey. And I know that's a big thing for you this year, and within this journey was like taking center stage and not be like in the background, you know, like, so it's again, what is my relationship to power, like expressing my voice, you know. And this is why in the grand scheme, like looking in the like spiritual realm, what occurred with the dating experience, for example, you know, okay, it didn't work out, but what you took from it was you being true to yourself. So it's not, you know, so it was a person that you met on your bigger journey of reclaiming your voice, and you did it. And this is why it's so significant, and why it's such a powerful move by you. Well, then when something maybe doesn't work out, that we can take it, and then we're like, as you mentioned, we kind of dwindle out of our power. But actually looking at the bigger picture of you reclaiming your power, your voice, that's fucking massive. And what does that tell you about yourself, you know?
Yeah.
Perception.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's yeah, it's been amazing. The
Yeah.
kind of the and just seeing it actually.
Yeah.
And also in that Irina was saying, like she shared previously about kind of you you kind of you have this sort of pattern, and you sort of feel that actually I should actually be feeling like really uncomfortable, or like there's something really weird going on, because I'm not feeling that feeling that's so familiar to me anymore. Because you kind of outgrow a pattern,
Yeah.
but you kind of still want to,
Yes.
I don't know, still want to hold on to it because it's so familiar and comfortable.
Yes.
Actually,
Exactly.
yeah. So
You're
that's
growing.
yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can go. I think, I mean, like the first question is how many hours do you have? Like you can go up like hours and hours about what
Yeah.
you get told as a woman.
Yes.
I think for me, it's like a similar, obviously not like Polly. I never had like arranged marriage or anything, but a similar stuff that most women get told. You need to get married, you have to have kids, you have to have home, you have to have security, and somehow it's like you have to be dependent on a man, because otherwise no way you're going to survive in this world, because they are like the provider and you are the giver. I think that was like a lot. That was like a lot where we grew up, is that like this is what's going to happen. That's like a normal thing to happen. I remember as well, it's a lot of that, like even like little things is like, I mean, I must have been like a teenager, like going home, like, I don't know, we went like drinking with friends or something. And we got told like, oh, if we would come home drunk, my mom would always say like, this is unacceptable. Not that because I was 16 and drunk. It was unacceptable because I was a woman. It's like inappropriate behavior. I should not be behaved that way. Like this is like, you know, it's not okay. And I think it's all of those things, like what it means to be a woman in this world. I mean, you're supposed to be like a sexual goddess, but you're not supposed to have sex. It's like, doesn't make no sense. It's like all those like little things, like you're supposed to be like all this like incredible in all of those things, but you're not supposed to speak up. You're not supposed to ask anything. You should just be there and just look pretty. Like I think I had like a lot of that, like growing up. A lot of what you see is that, oh, you do much, you speak too much, you do opinionated, like you do independent, like, you know, you speak up too often. It's like, I think that I find like a lot.
Yeah. And in that, you know, constantly like it creates that pattern, doesn't it, of like, who do I have to be to kind of please others, and like almost like, you know, a little bit what I mentioned when I spoke to you earlier, probably about like melting into the background. Like, okay, like don't say anything, don't do anything, just be a quiet little candle in the background there, and don't take up too much space, and you know, and yeah, and as you mentioned, it's also very conflicting messages. Don't do this, be this, but not like this. And it's like, oh my God, it's exhausting. And of course, creating that pattern of who do I have to be, but it takes us away from who we actually are, and embracing that. And also can see, as you mentioned, like it wasn't the fact you were 16 and had a few drinks, it was because you were a girl. And that's very resonating with, I felt I was treated unfairly just because I was a woman or a girl. And I was like, what if I was born a male? Why was I even born a woman? You know? Until I, of course, reclaimed my power, you know, within that. But yeah, I hear you very deeply in that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
So I thought about how sort of we don't have any power, so we're like under sort of our parents, and then we kind of get passed on to men, like kind of like what Rena said, like you can't survive without a man. That we're here to serve others, for example, men and our children, and even our parents, give them what they want, and then we feel guilty if we don't give them that. Being in your power means others don't get what they need from you. For example, your partner or children or parents. You receive disappointment from others. That your voice is not important, and to stay small and quiet. It's not safe to be powerful because we are an imposter, don't have the skills or ability to be powerful, and how dare you think that you do. We need to do and be everything to everyone. We have a lot of responsibilities put on us, and yeah, like you're supposed to be a good cook, and then like what Rena said, like you're supposed to be sensual but not have sex and all of that. So some similar things there.
Yeah, and as you know, you mentioned, always like always be on call for others. It's like I'm just a, you know, vessel for others, and take, give. But it's like I'm not having anything, you know. It's like hence the Empress is so radical in like I'm only giving from a, you know, overfilling cup. Versus like what we often have been taught, it was like you always put other people first, when actually the power move is to put ourselves first, choose ourselves first, and that is how we become a, you know, powerful creator. Yeah. And all this again, like the conflicting messages, and you know, as you mentioned, it's always like first with parents, then just passed on, and you should just continue to have this role, and don't think about it, just do it, you know, effectively. This is who you need to be.
I wish they had classes about this in class, like with kids really early on, around like, you know, they always tell us from a young age, you know, be kind to others and share with others, and da 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 da. Actually, first it should be you as the focus, not other people.
Yeah, it's very interesting. For example, like observing my niece. I'm observing my nephew as well, but because she's a girl, I think I'm just, you know, observing her in a different way. And it's like how, especially like YouTube and all these things, and it's like it's very interesting to see like this little girl and how she's like this young little 8-year-old, but sometimes it's almost like, and obviously it's me who like sexualizing her from her own behavior, but you can see when she looks herself, like the way she poses, the way she make up, like the way she, like all of these things, like she looks like she's always 16 years old, you know, but she's only 8. So it's all of these things as well, to just see how what is being asked of her through, you know, music videos. Like now it's like porn when we were young, you know, and like they're crawling all over the floor, and then you see your 8-year-old niece and you're like, are you okay, hon? But yeah, I wish as well that, you know, we were having these conversations earlier. You know, I sincerely hope that more people are having these conversations. Polly, did you want to say anything?
I just wanted to share, I was talking to a friend of mine. He's got he's got a daughter who's sort of I think she's about 6 or something, and he teaches martial arts. And it's a really interesting conversation because he was saying that, you know, he was having this conversation with his daughter, and he was saying that, you know, there was a boy at school and he was like pulling her hair, and like and she kind of, and it hurt her and she got upset, and they were saying, I think it was one of the teachers or something was saying to her, you know, oh, he's only doing that because he likes you. And that was, and my friend Rick said to his daughter, he was like, if a boy does that to you, kick him in the shin, you know, because
yeah, good.
wrong thing. Like you shouldn't, like if he likes you, he shouldn't be hurting you, kind of thing. But
Yes.
it's get told as we're growing up, isn't it, that, you know, you have to take all of this shit from people because coming from the wrong place, really, you know, they're not doing it right. So it was really interesting. I was just thinking about it as you were sharing.
Yeah, and it's so good that he said that, and it's like, I can't believe that still in 2023 teachers say that. Like, I maybe can accept it somewhat when I was in school, whatever, how many years ago, but the fact that still feel like that, no, not okay. And it's very interesting as well. I think it was one of my friends, when she had children, she was like, isn't it interesting? I can't remember exact the wording, but it's like, when we're young as well, we're often told to like, oh, you know, but if we're like really, really tiny little people, and it's like boy versus girl, to kind of say to the girls that, you know, oh, you know, they just don't, you know, develop as quickly as you, like, oh, he just doesn't know better, like all these excuses, instead of saying to the boys, look, she's developing quicker than you, like she's more, you know, whatever than you. So it's like, you got things to learn from her. No, it's the woman that needs to dim her light for them. And obviously, hopefully that's not what is meant, but as you mentioned, is all these messages from such a young age that, of course, through inner work as well, we get to see, to be like, wow, yeah, either someone directly told me this, indirectly told me this, and imagine, as we're talking like just for 10 minutes now, all these messages that we've just been peppered with. So as we, like, as I mentioned, it's all very well to talk about stepping into our power, but as we're talking about the unconscious and the shadow, also look at what have we been told, so we can shed those, you know, layers as well. So what I want to do is to just like take a few moments for us all to just close down our eyes and just really, you know, I want to just take, as you were saying, like it's a big question. We could talk about this for years. So what I want to do is to just, you know, closing down our eyes, just connecting with the body through the breath. And just relaxing the body, and, you know, maybe shaking out if there is any tension, or you feel like your shoulders came up a little bit. It's like, oh God, I was just reminded of this, or hearing something just made me feel X, Y, Z, or sharing. And just relaxing the body through a few conscious breaths. Again, shake out any parts of the body that needs to be moved. And just inhale and just exhale with a sigh. Again, just any tension leaving the body. To drop down into your heart. And with every inhale and exhale, just expanding and relaxing your heart. And to, from our heart, honor what you shared yourself. Hold love for your experiences. And also hold place in your heart for acknowledging and honoring what else have been shared on the call today. And also through answering this question. To take a few moments to recognize yourself and your journey to reclaim your power as a woman, as a human, as a creator of your life. Take a few moments to honor and recognize the other women on this call, those listening for this at home, their journey of being here, reclaiming that power as a woman, as a human, as a creator of their life. And just closing by taking a deep breath in and out. You're ready to come back into the room. So we are going to, let me just see which one I want to leave with first. So we're not, again, I can talk about the mother wound and the father wound extensively. In short, and it's not exclusive to this, but for the purpose of our call today. So the mother wound, as I mentioned earlier, very much connected with how we care for ourselves, including our needs, and also how we relate to the world around us. And the father wound really influences how we view ourselves, with not feeling enough and not feeling worthy of love. And the father wound actually also influences our relationship with the masculine, whether we come from a healthy place or unhealthy place, when it comes to our masculine energy of creating from our personal power. Do we believe we have agency over our own world? And especially in our love life, it can be that we don't, if we have a father wound, like many people do, it can collapse that we don't really believe that the love that we want is possible for us, rooted in we're not feeling enough or not feeling worthy. So again, tapping into, your own relationship with your mother, your own relationship with your father, either or both. How may you have internalized negative messages from your father around your self-worth or getting your needs met by other men? If we in some way feel let down by our father, we often collapse that into not trusting other men. We don't believe that men can be there, or at some point we're going to be let down. And also, what are we ready to reclaim? As we mentioned, through this work, we get to see and have the awareness dissolve. And I also want to, of course, touch on what are you ready to reclaim? And I'm not looking for any right or wrong answers. It's just to fit into what is true. Share whatever you're comfortable with on either, but especially what are you ready to reclaim when it comes to your worth? The more that we see that it's like this is a story or something that I have picked up consciously or unconsciously by parents or the world, like that's not my truth. That was never mine. It was passed on. I choose to let that go, and instead my truth get to be what? Does that make sense?
Share. Well, I have both. I think I have a mother. I think we all do, but for me, like the wound side, there was like I don't really have, like, I lived in a kind of a big extended family growing up, and I don't really have recollection of kind of that kind of relationship with my mom and any sort of nurture, and as like a female figure, and so I don't ever feel like I was looked after and kind of I was safe, but in terms of that kind of emotional connection, that was never there, and I still struggle with that with my mom now. And kind of is kind of gets complicated because they're kind of already old. But I think the where it shows up most is with like my father wound, which I think is where because I was born a girl, and I think same thing, they kind of, because he wanted a boy, another boy, I've always felt like I was not enough and never enough, and so I'm always trying to prove my self-worth by overachieving and kind of sort of just constantly proving to myself that I can do this and I can do this, and I'm kind of constantly going and going and going, and so I'm really try and keep control of a lot of different elements of my life, and I find it really hard to kind of let that go a little bit, because I if I let it go, there's a fear around what does that look like, or what does that mean about me. So I think what I've been working on is kind of actually just trying to loosen the grip a little bit and trying to let go of controlling, because I'm obviously, because we're not in control of anything, like things happen as they're going to happen. But and I know, and I realize that if I'm really trying to hold on so tight, it's almost like holding on to like a bird, isn't it? Something really delicate, and then it's just going to die. And that's happening. So like it's just so, yeah, it's really hard to do it. I find it really difficult just to kind of just say, okay, it all goes back to that masculine feminine thing, that I can step into a little bit of softness, and I think it's that trust, isn't it? Just trusting that life has got my back, and that things are going to work. Things are things will be what they will be. But it's that thing that you always say, do you believe that all this is possible for you? And I think for a long time I haven't, because in my level of control and holding on, I haven't allowed myself to kind of dream big, which is why I then really struggle to kind of think, what is it that I do want? Because I know what I want, but I haven't quite got to what I do want yet. So yeah, and kind of, I think that's where I'm at with that.
Yeah, and also, as you said, trusting the unfolding, and also honoring your your edge, as I will call it, like, oh, it's only been in the last month where you really saw there's like, oh my days, it's like the feminine, the masculine, that's a big shift already. So it's also creating the safety within the body. It was like, okay, we've been leaning into here, okay, like now we're ready to lean into here. Now we're ready to lean into here. That just because we see it doesn't mean we're just like, okay, I'm going to let go of this. Because as you said, that's been the safety net for a long, long, long time. And this is why, we refer to the journey and the layers and layers. It's like that onion, like peeling away, so we don't push ourselves into like, it needs to be the next breakthrough, or like it needs to look in this way. Like, I am where I am, and I trust my journey. I trust myself. As you said, it's a lot around the trust.
Yeah.
And maybe you answered it already. What are you ready to reclaim when it comes to your worth? So you mentioned you're on a journey to like, what I want is possible for me, and what do I actually want, and stepping into that. So what are you reclaiming when it comes to your worth? Stepping into your power. What do you feel ready to reclaim?
I think reclaiming that I am allowed to take up space, and to kind of, I am allowed to choose what I feel is right for me, I think, as opposed to, because I've always had a lot of people telling me what I should be doing, and I've always sort of tried to toe the party line, and then so I've been trying to keep myself happy, trying to keep them happy, the family happy, and in it no one's happy. And I think it's just about keeping myself happy and doing what feels right for me. So I think it's just reclaiming that I think.
Wonderful. Yeah. Powerful. Love that. Great. Thank you.
So I mean, I think for me, like the mother wound is, I mean, that's the root of everything there is, like all my abandoned issues. So I think that is like the massive, like this huge thing. And the poor man, like, it's not even his fault. Like he died when I was 5. So it's like he didn't even do anything. But like I think that is like, I mean, that's like one of my biggest thing is that like it's a massive, huge thing. But I think for me, the hard part is that like what I'm ready to reclaim is that like when I think of that, I cannot even think or imagine what it feels to actually have a father or what it feels to have a relationship with a father. So for me, it's like I don't even know what is that I'm looking for or what is that I'm reclaiming.
If we take it outside of the parental role of you know, coming back to what you mentioned earlier of all these stories of why women needs to be in a certain way, they always need to be next to a man and all these things, what comes up for you if we reclaim that? What do you reclaim? What are you ready to reclaim around your worth, stepping into your power as the woman that you are,
I'd
the woman
say
that you
like
have become,
having a voice,
having a
having a
voice?
voice. Yeah, having a voice, being able to speak up to myself, actually like clearly communicate like what I need or what I want. Uh, Not being afraid. And I think like not being afraid, like I think obviously if you look at like the relationship with the masculine, is not being afraid of that. But probably like a lot of women is like called is that like we, or maybe it's just me, terrified that like, you know, if we speak up or we express ourselves, like they would leave.
Mm.
Is that like it's almost like, you know, kind of like perhaps be like, okay, so if I cannot like speak up, if I can't like express my needs, if I can't like communicate like properly, and if I do all of things, and if they leave, like, you know, then, you know, better off with them, without them.
Yeah. Yeah, is this also very like something that I hear a lot with women particularly is like, oh, it's kind of bit, but you know, I don't want to rock the boat, you know, things are really good, things have been really good, or like, you know, he has a lot on, and is again to like we can be caring, but not at the expense of ourselves. And it's like having that fear of if I express myself and if I share how I really feel or what it is that I want, it's like that collective feminine wounding of I feel like I'm too much in some capacity. And as you mentioned, you know, is that what would you call it, like mindset as opposed of what you mentioned, you know, that gives us the perception of like choice. Okay, if like I am choosing myself by expressing myself and speaking up, and if that would result in my partner leaving, well, my needs will never get met. So, okay, now I see like disappointing, but equally like I choose to see this as is either this or something better, because actually the promise that I made to myself is to express myself, is to ask for what I need, is to be able to freely speak within a relationship without, I can still have my fears, but it's another thing of them, you know, if we feel like it's an environment that means that we need to like conform to these everything that we talked about, you know, in the earlier chat. Does that make sense? You know, and it's like I is one of the things what you mentioned of the mindset of that if they can't meet my needs, then I'm better off without them. And I choose to believe that there are men out there who can. That's more of the abundance kind of like I know that no matter what, I'm okay because they will show their true colors by me showing my true colors effectively. Um, and also like choosing to believe that there are other people out there just because, for example, my dad couldn't meet my emotional needs. I made it mean that no man could. Um, so it was like really reclaiming my power of I choose to believe that there are men out there who can, and feeling the fear and do it anyway. You know, the abandonment when like thinking David was going to leave every other day, you know, for a while until things settled and I worked at that foundation that I built within self. Yeah.
Thank you.
Expressing yourself, speaking up about what you need, your desires. And this is also like the Empress of, you know, owning what she wants, what she needs, her desires unapologetically. You know, we can say it from from a relaxed feminine state. It was like, this is who I am and this is what I need. You know, there's like nothing more, nothing less. It's like, this is who I am. Yeah. Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
So with the sort of father wound, both of my parents are quite emotionally unavailable, like growing up, which is funny because I'm super emotional. I think what I'd kind of like to reclaim from that is that I can trust men, and that they are here to like equally serve each other, like both men and women, and that I can ask for help, and that men can provide things that I need from them, for example, affection and love, and that love is not conditional, like if you do this then we'll be happy with you, I'll be happy with you. And sort of from the mother wound, what I'd like to make a new story, because my mum didn't really look after herself, and still doesn't really, and always puts others before herself, just like me. I'd like to put myself first, and I can consider others, but not put them before me and my needs. To others around me. I'd like to relate to others around me as an equal, not as a lesser person, or that someone that knows or is less. And communicate what I need regardless of the imagined consequences.
I like that phrase, imagined consequences. Yeah. And as you said, we see so many patterns from our parents, and then I think Polly mentioned earlier that when you were in your past relationship, and it's like, oh my God, I've taken on the same role. And to see that, and then what is it that we get to again dissolve, and what should we get to reclaim? And as you and I talked about at the very early stage of this call today, like what does it look like to dial up self-nurturing at this point, and be your own role model for what that will look like, given that you didn't have that from your mom, still don't to this day. You be your own mother archetype to your inner child, Wonderful. And this is where it's like that question, like what are we ready to reclaim? And that again is layered, what do we feel ready today, so that we don't push or force anything. And this is why all of these questions we can ask ourselves over and over again, over a period of time, because there is always new layers. So stepping into our power and really creating what it is that our heart desires. Many people push that away or don't go for it in the first place because we don't believe that we are worthy of it. It's an intense moment. It's an intense month, Scorpio season, which is showing up the worth with money, love, and sex. So it's very much, potent time for this. So, Carl Jung, one of my very well quoted people in my practice, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. As we know, within the work, it's not all light and shiny rainbows, but it doesn't have to be all shadow and dark either. Is the balance, the reason why we're talking about that unconscious today is because of the purpose of, so we can actually see it and reclaim it and alchemize it as well. So here is where I'm going to go through a few slides, and then we're going to see what lands. So the unconscious. So Jung describes the unconscious as an individual's unique experience, memories, or emotions that are not in immediate conscious awareness. It includes both thoughts and experiences that have been temporarily suppressed and are less accessible. So they're not in our consciousness. There are levels of being unconscious, maybe not immediate or deeper, suppressed, depending on often how hurtful or painful the experience was, or how much we felt rejected in that. The shadow. These are the aspects of self that we have suppressed, denied, hidden in our earlier experiences, led us to believe that they wouldn't be welcomed, accepted, or loved, meaning that we often see these aspects as weak or undesirable. So for me, I thought anything with women, femininity, and, you know, basically my authentic self was not welcomed, not desired, not accepted. And now over to, so yeah, unconscious, we are not conscious of it. The shadow is things that we have suppressed about ourselves in some way. We don't believe that it's going to be welcome, loved, or accepted. And now over to Mr. Hesse. This I put in for effect. So he studied Carl Jung and Jungian psychology. So, and he also, his work as an author was very much tapping into the search for authenticity within individuals. So this, he said, if you hate a person, you hate something in him that is part of yourself. What isn't part of ourself doesn't disturb us. So we'll just land on that for a few moments. And I'm going to give you some, like, a example that we can use, but we then speak about, you know, some other examples as well. Example, something that I see a lot. I was here as well. So for example, women in the masculine energy often unconsciously perceive part of the feminine as weak or undesirable, meaning that they push it away in self, but also push it away in others, aka men. So maybe something that we desire, but also we feel kind of like when we meet a vulnerable man, even though, because it just doesn't register with our internal blueprint, we don't believe it is accepted with self. So how could I even accept someone else? And of course, this also goes with layers and layers and layers of societal conditioning of what a man should be and how we deeply condition into this, just as how we feel what women should be like. So what am I saying here? So because their vulnerability is fundamentally not agreeing with our core view of vulnerability, we reject it. We think about it as a thing, as in vulnerability, as something that's weak. So basically, if we take, you know, Mr. Heisman's theory into this perception, that the reason why we feel repelled by the vulnerable man, this is just an example, is because we actually don't like it or we're suppressing that in ourselves. Does that make sense? It's easy to look at, like, everyone is always a reflection of each other when we're like, oh my God, Polly, you're so in your power. And you're like, also, I'm just a reflection of you. That's easier to accept, but it's harder when it is the, like, things that might be more triggering, such as this one, for example. So, you know, it's just feeling into, like, where may you reject what it is that you really want. That could be like, you know, what you mentioned earlier, Polly, like kindness. You know, I want a kind man, but also like weirdly kind of like reject him, even though you're on a different journey of actually embracing this in, but you weirdly, not weirdly, coincidential, what is it called? Coincidental? No, when it's like it's a coincidence or not, that you're also looking for this more in yourself, to be kinder at yourself, right? So it's like, where does the shift start first, you know, in self? But it's an interesting, so I thought we'll just land on this for a moment, discuss. Going back to this, what's coming up for you? I just thought, I can't remember how I came across this man, but I was like, I'm going to put this in because I resonate with it on some level and I can see it in myself on levels. And also I think it just brings something different. Is there anything that comes up for you, or how is it landing?
That's really funny because this experience that I've just had, just for the girls, I met this guy and he was so, the only way I could describe him was just so nice. And I thought that's the only word that I could possibly use. And when I met him, I was just like, oh my God, like he's so nice. And I was like, and I said to you also, I was like, I think I just need someone that's got just a little bit more bite and just a bit, you know. And it's really interesting because because I am working on that on myself, about kind of, if I find someone that's really nice and kind and gentle, it feels like it's going against the grain of who I am, because I am, you know, like, although I'm working to get more into my feminine, there's always a balance. And I think, and kind of where I am in my life and what I do, I will always be a little bit more on that masculine side than on the fully feminine side. Now, and I'm okay with that. But it's quite interesting to see that, because I was like, shit, man, that's exactly what was happening last week. I was just like, as soon as I met him, and I'd had this feeling, I was like, oh my God, like, this guy's just so nice. It's a bit too much for me, you know? Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, this one. And see, you know, like, hate is a very strong word, you know, of course, but it could be like we feel challenged or like annoyed or like something about ourselves. Like, as I said, if that part isn't about us, we feel very neutral. And the more people that have done inner work, and especially sat with that fucking shadow, they get very little triggered by other people, because they often met that part of themselves. They're like, oh, okay, it doesn't mean anything about them. Does that make sense? So yeah, that's a good example. Reno, Andrew, is there anything that you want to share?
Yeah, I like it. I actually learned this years ago when I studied psychology. It must have gone up somewhere. Is that like what we don't like in someone else is something that we don't like in ourselves? And was something as well. And I think it's interesting as well. It's like, even like little things is like, oh, like, you know, when we think like, oh, somebody is, oh, they are so obnoxious, or they're so rude, or they like this. And then you come back, okay, so what part of me is actually obnoxious? Like, what part of me is like rude? Like, what is that actually like represents back to me? And I always find it like absolutely fascinating. I mean, it takes a hell of work to work with that. And like, I think that it was one of the things we learned as well. And I'm sure it was the developmental psychology, because Freud was in it, and Carl Jung was together with Freud. Was if we could look every single person as a mirror, we would learn so much about ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like a minefield. It's such a minefield, but obviously, like, it's kind of like when you're in a moment, like, oh, or like, what was the one? Like, I remember years ago was like one of the girls, like, we were like probably 16, 17. And one of the girls got pregnant. And she was like, oh, she didn't want, I think the boyfriend didn't want like the baby or something. I mean, I can't remember, something like this. And I remember sitting, and he's like, oh my God, I'm so angry. Like, I don't want to have this baby. Like, it's ridiculous, everything. And the only thing I see is like pregnant woman, baby pushchairs, everything is like just like a baby's like everywhere. And it's just so irritating.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
yes,
yeah. And as you mentioned, you know, and everyone is effectively like, and taking that like spiritual view, it can be easy, like, oh, you're in your power, oh, you see your power through me, oh, that's great, you know. But when it's like something else that is harder to then admit about oneself, is a very interesting. And this is even when I've done plant medicine, if I've had experiences with people that I have felt being like really fucking painful or annoying, or just like, why did this happen in any way? Ayahuasca kind of brought that up, and I was like, why is this person coming into my life now? And then I'm like, what? I have something to learn from this person? Surely no, I don't like it all how they show up. But yeah, lo and behold, you know. So yeah, but it takes that work, and it's not like everyday, you know, life. But as you mentioned, it's like, can we also add that lens of curiosity, you know, to it? And sometimes it's going to be harder, and sometimes it's going to be like, oh my God, I see it, almost like a bit of a, you know, glimpse in our eye type thing.
I tried to think about the things that really, really bug me in people, and one of them is, and those closest to me, is sort of being judgmental of others. And I can't entirely identify with this there, because I don't feel that is something in me. So I think that's something different. And then I thought about criticality, like that really annoys me, like being criticized, like, and being really critical. And I thought that is something that I've done to myself, not to others, like throughout my life in my head. And yeah, kind of thinking about that in relation to this, like, is that why I don't kind of, that really bugs me, because I have been in the past and growing up like super, super, super critical of myself. And I don't know if I've come to the point of like saturation now where like I don't want to hear anymore, not from anyone.
Yeah. Closing the chapter, no criticism from all angles, self, others. You know,
Whether
you want to be in a different environment.
Yeah, whether that's a good or bad, like that's just kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's a very interesting lens, as I would say. And this is something that I would invite you to do for, you know, the next week, and just see, like, is there an irritation with other people or something? And it's like, you know, what, has it got anything for me to learn about myself? Or like, where am I? What is this trying to show me? Like, where am I doing this to me? Or where am I doing this maybe to myself or others in other part of our life? And just, you know, again, just like get curious to just see like, oh, I had a little bit of a reaction there, like, oh, that's really interesting, you know? And yeah, we're going to go into a meditation and then we'll close today because I'm aware of time. But, you know, again, you know, it's like when other things are being, and it's even, I don't coach with her, but it's someone that I aspire to coach with. And she even did a post. This is very business orientated, but like for the purpose, and just another example, she said, every time if she is calling someone into a coaching practice and she knows that she can help them and the person knows that she can help them, but they are still a no, she was like, she said she immediately looks at, where am I not committing to myself? And I read this months ago and I was like, wow, that's a really, you know, she's not in her ego or identity at all. She's just like, oh, well, can this, like this person, this was clearly a journey meant for them, and they said no, where I'm not committing to myself. So it's always that thing. And for me, this is just some of the examples. You know, I think I mentioned this before. It was once the other month, and I felt like I was really due some deep appreciation from my partner. I didn't even get it. And then I looked at it as like, okay, where am I not appreciating myself? Not at all, you know? So it's like I was dialing up appreciation for myself. And then, of course, I had a conversation with my partner as well. And equally, you know, I can be not so much anymore, but especially before, kind of during my own individual journey about my feminine energy, I could very like easy judge other women for being deep in that feminine, you know, like, oh, how could they even run their life in that way, you know, whatever. But instead of judging them, of course, there was something in me that I suppressed. And instead of looking at that way, I was like, what is it that I admire about this woman? You know, and what part about me do I feel like I can embrace and embody even more? And it's the same, like if I feel jealous of, you know, other coaches making like 7-figure business and they're like, oh, I just launched again and I made, you know, hundreds of millions of pounds. And instead of going like, oh, them versus me, it's like coming into a place of like, I choose to trust that I'm more than enough and capable to create a business that works for me. What can I learn from this woman or this coach? You know, does that make sense? So looking at in the week ahead, like, where do you feel kind of like activated by someone or something, and just like be curious and see like, how can you instead, what can you learn about it? How could you invite yourself? How can you invite that thing in more within yourself? Or how can you empower yourself to trust that we are not in competition? You know, abundance is abundant and there is enough. So trusting myself, trusting my journey. Does that make sense? Okay. So before we close today, I'm just gonna take you into meditation. We have about 5 minutes left, so probably be, you know, about that, and then we're gonna come to a close. And so I'm gonna take you into your heart space, metaphorically, and yeah, you'll be guided, so you don't have to do anything except Relaxing, closing down the eyes, and just be receptive to whatever. And sometimes messages can be really subtle, sometimes there is no messages, sometimes there are messages, and this is like one of many opportunities to tap into our heart. So just be open and receptive and acceptive of whatever is to appear. Okay. So just sitting comfortably so that you feel relaxed, but still with a straight spine, so you feel like it's like an active rest. And I invite you to drop down the shoulders, to come into your breath. So taking 3 deep conscious breaths and breathing all the way from the stomach. Filling your stomach, filling your lungs, filling your throat with air. And inhaling in your own time, exhaling in your own time. Perhaps you want to use the counting of 1001, 1002, 1003. Just slow it down a little bit more. Just soften in the body, softening your heart, softening your pelvic area. Just being present in this moment. And again, breathing in and out, almost like imagining to breathe in and out from the heart. So as we did earlier, the heart expands and the heart relaxes. And you could either mentally focus on your heart, or you can physically put one hand or two hands above the area of the heart. And we're just for a few minutes really going to focus on this place of your body. Just letting the heart know that it's safe to relax and open. I invite you to imagine in your mind's eye a tiny little version of you. So it is you in this current form, November 2023. And that this version of you, so the person that you are, just visualizing her in a mini version coming into your heart, choosing which of the chambers through the heart for her to enter. So just mentally placing yourself and this version of you into your heart space. Choosing which chamber to enter the heart from. And as you enter your heart space, the first person that you meet in there is your inner child. Just visualize your inner child. Perhaps you have met before. Perhaps this is the first time that you meet. Just spending a few moments to gain clarity. What age she is. What is she wearing? And And as you meet your inner child, you hold hands and you have a message for her that you pass on now. Just taking a few moments to feel into this message that you would like to share with your inner child. And as you're holding her hand, being in your heart, passing that on, something that she needs to know, something that she needs to hear, or something you wish you knew, something you heard, just anything that resonates. As you pass on this message, you walk forward. And the people that you meet now is your ancestors, your female ancestors. Some you may know, some you may never have met. Might be one, two, or many. So as you and your inner child holding hands, walking towards your ancestors, you lock hands with them. And really here, taking a few moments to feel the power and the wisdom of your ancestors. Just noticing that you are all connected in this moment. See if your ancestors have any messages for you. They pass on now. Practicing receiving that message. Feeling the power of the women unite. And as you all hold hands, you continue to walk forward to now meeting your higher self. And again, creating a mental image about your higher self as she greets you, as she greets your ancestors, as she greets your inner child. Your higher self turns to you and she has a message for you. Just receiving that message now. Receiving the message and that it really integrates into your body, into your heart. And as you all, your higher self, your ancestors, your inner child, and you are forming a circle, just feeling the power and the wisdom unite. That's women. Thanking each other for coming forward at this time. having received and having shared any messages that came today. Thanking each other for those. Thanking each other for coming forth. You're ready, take a deep breath. Come back to your body. Placing a hand on your heart. And breathing in love and gratitude and appreciation for the woman that you are. Just through a few breaths, just letting that love radiate throughout your body, through circulating it with the breath. Perhaps there is a certain part of you that needs to hear it. Just sending that love there. Close, taking another deep breath in. Exhaling. Ready, you can come back into the room. And if you want, of course, take some notes on any messages or anything that you observed. If you want, you can share those messages in the chat as well. At my 12, 13-year-old self, when I was dressed to go to a 5 concert back in the day, a bit of a punky look with leather jacket, didn't expect her to come along. Oh, wonderful. Oh, 5 concert. Love. My sister sent me a video of a Spice Girls video the other day, and I was like, oh my God, all the memories flashing back. I was like, how old is that song? She's like, I don't want to know. We're just going to embrace them. We love them so much. Yeah. And it might be like, what has she got to teach you? You know? Maybe if there is something that she wants to get known, pass on or share. Be a bit more rock and roll. Yeah. Love that. It's like the attitude of that leather jacket. You know? Fearless teenager. Yeah. Rena and Polly, is there anything that you want to share? Oh, you're and I'm gonna post it in the Courageous Woman tomorrow anyway. A practice that I invite you to use as part of your morning practice, but it can also be more live, is I love myself enough to. So that can be like in a moment to moment situation where maybe, you know, your past self would have acted in a different way, and just break that by, I love myself enough to ... So it could be a journal practice in the morning, like I love myself enough to XYZ, today looks like this, but it of course can be more live in a conversation or a situation as well. So that's a beautiful practice to can I love myself enough to go for this, ask for this, not do that, say no to this, whatever it might be, right? Cool. All right, so now we've run over time, so we'll close there. If you have any questions or anything comes up, as always, you know, I'm there within the Courageous Woman. You can simply just add me in the community chat, as well. And yeah, and as I know we cover a lot, and as always, like, what is your main takeaways? Go do that. You know, it doesn't have to look in any particular way. We're not judging whether it's like big or small or whatever. It is what it is, you know, it's not here or there. It's just like what resonates, and start there. All right. Okay, well, thank you everyone for being here and for your vulnerable shares today. Love all your shares and showing up and being there for each other as well. And yeah, wonderful as always to see you. Happy super late dinner, or maybe it's just me. And I'll see you very, very soon. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Bye everyone. Thank you. Bye everyone. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.